Hey, I'm Sarah, this is Abby, and welcome to A Swool Unlimited. If you're new here, I'm a scuba instructor, and I moved into my van in 2021 after losing my dive shop in Indonesia due to shutdowns. I've been on the road diving around the US, Canada, and Mexico for the last 2 years, teaching on YouTube along the way. All right, let's get into the video. Why should people come to the Baja Dive Expedition?
To get an experience of a lifetime.
What was your favorite experience of the trip?
I tell people my favorite day was every day because we saw something new every day.
It's true.
But the biggest experience was definitely diving with the whale sharks in La Paz. It was an experience of a lifetime.
Love you, friend.
Enjoyed the trips.
Yeah. Welcome to my humble abode outside of the Rocky Mountain National Park. Not glamorous, but this has been home for the last few days now. I've just been hanging out and getting work done. Show you around. There's my Starlink. That's how I'm able to work. Those are garbanzo beans that I'm rehydrating in the sun because I don't have enough power right now to run my stove. So that's pretty cool. And here is my messy office. Oh, and there's a sweet face. Who's the sweetest girl in the whole world? One of my Patreon members asked me about solo travel and getting paired with random dive buddies. And so I wanted to take a moment to talk about how to find dive buddies in general, because my own experience, I felt very isolated from the community when I first came back from Thailand and was diving in cold water. It was super intimidating to try and meet people and go diving with them because obviously I had no idea what I was doing in cold water. So let's cover resources and how to get involved in the community, because once you figure it out, it's a really special one. But we want to know how to go about this safely. Okay, while we do that, I'm going to be replacing this bungee, which is on my side mount. Inflator hose. Look at how stretched out this thing is. This is insane. I've been needing to do it, so now I'm gonna do it while I talk to you. All right. Best way to go about finding buddies is to be friendly with your local dive shop. Meeting buddies through your courses and organized dive days is just super easy. So there's no real reason not to be involved if you have a local dive shop. Okay, this place is rather popular, so I keep having to take breaks because people are bringing their ATVs to drive around, which, like, good for them, but a little challenging for video recording. Yeah, anyway, stay in contact with your dive instructor. If you're in a place where there's shore diving, a lot of instructors will invite previous students to dive on like certification days and possibly even to help out with different courses. Do a Google search for local meetup groups. Facebook is a wonderful resource for this. It's probably the only thing that Facebook is good for these days. What? Then there's social media. Now, I feel like social media is its own beast because people can look you up and feel like they know you based on what you post on the internet. It can be a little dangerous, so you gotta have some caution. If you're gonna meet up with someone from social media, make sure you've interacted with them a ton, so that you feel comfortable with who they are and how they present themselves. Scour their posts to make sure that there's nothing that seems crazy, whatever that means to you. And then if you're gonna meet up, try to take somebody with you, even if they just hang out in the parking lot while you guys dive. If you can't do that, then let somebody know where you're gonna be, time in the water, time out of the water, who this person is, send their profile, send their picture. You want somebody to be aware of what's going on. Choose public places to meet up with these people. I really like meeting people at dive shops because that's a safe place where there's employees and everything. And then just as a general rule, I don't do night dives with people that I don't know. Of course, I have broken that rule, and those of you in my Patreon community know. But that's okay. That brings me to my next point. Ultimately, you have to trust your gut. A lot of people tell me that what I do is dangerous. That's fine for you to think that. I have been traveling for over 10 years, and I have a really good sense. I trust my gut in all of these things, and, knock on wood, I have kept myself very safe. My rules are, if you get an unsettled vibe from someone, cancel the dive. If they turn out to have unsafe diving practices, cancel the dive. There is no point at which you can't cancel the dive. Even if you're out on a boat, no one can force you to dive with someone that you feel is unsafe. I'm gonna be smarter about this. We're gonna tie the knot and then put it on because it's elastic and it will stretch. Sometimes, Sarita, I just don't know what goes on in your brain. So getting paired with random people on the boat. Ask your dive buddy questions. A good resource is the PADI Reactivate course questions, but like, be normal and conversational about asking them. You don't want them to realize that you're like quizzing them. Just not good. So here are the questions you can ask. How many dives do you have and in what conditions? What environments have you been in before? When and where were your last dives? How did those dives go? And finally, go through each other's equipment so that you're familiar with the safety features. Bam, ba-dam. Oh, son of a... I needed to tie the freaking bolt snap on this. God, I cannot do two things at once. I don't know why I thought this was gonna be a good idea. I need to undo this. That's what forks are for. I'm a professional. Ha. 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 Okay. If you are going to do a lot of solo travel, I highly recommend getting your certification up to rescue diver. With that certification, you will feel more comfortable with helping other people with their problems. That's not to say that you have to be a rescue diver to dive with new people, or else none of us would be diving. But it's a good idea and goal to head towards. When you're diving with new people, you want to think like a solo diver in the sense that like you feel confident that you can handle yourself, but you're available and attentive to your dive buddies. That is so loud. I have had literal hummingbirds come into the van sitting out here. It is so crazy because they're so loud. Have you heard hummingbird? I mean, in this space, it's like it magnifies it, and it's wild. Anyway, a general note about buddy pairings and rescues. And this doesn't apply to just diving with strangers. I just want to share this because it was brought up by one of my other Patreon members, and I think it's really important for people to know. When diving with a buddy, you need to consider body size and fitness level in case of a rescue. In some instances, you won't be alone, so it's not as much of a factor. For example, if you're diving from a boat and you need to get your much larger unconscious dive buddy up onto the boat, you're gonna have a lot of hands to help. The boat crew is gonna be there. However, if you're in the same situation on a shore dive and there's no one around, you don't want to be in that situation where you feel like you can't get your buddy out of the water. There are, of course, techniques for small people to rescue larger people, but you have to be honest with yourself about your capabilities and your fitness level and how complicated that water exit is. So now we're going to get into solo international travel because this can be really intimidating for people. Before you book your trip, you want to ask the dive operator a few questions. How full is the boat? What's the general plan for the dive sites? And I say general plan because as a former dive shop owner, you cannot guarantee where you're going to go. Conditions can change rapidly depending on where you are in the world. As a client, be okay with being flexible if that plan changes. What kinds of divers are already signed up for the boat? If you're going with a whole bunch of brand new open water divers, you're going to be going to simple dive sites. Unless the operator has a smaller boat to take the advanced divers somewhere else nearby, that's just what is going to happen. By asking this question, you can sort of prepare your expectations for the day. How big are the groups? This question may or may not be relevant depending on where you're diving. If you're in a place where you're going to have a dive guide and you have to be in a group, then yes, you want to know this because the last thing you want is to be in a group of like 10 people and a dive guide. If you're diving in a place where there's no dive guide and you're just paired up in buddy teams, then it's not really relevant. Rude. Go take your noise somewhere else, baby. Finally, find out about accommodations. This is mostly important if you're looking at dive trips that are all bundled together, right? Your accommodation and your diving is sold as one. For example, on my Azul Unlimited dive expeditions. Shameless plug. But you want to ask this because some trips will offer private accommodation for a reasonable price, whereas others it would be hugely expensive. And so you end up actually just booking a shared room with somebody that you don't know. And you need to make the decision on whether or not you're comfortable with that, because some people are and some people aren't. There are a lot more questions that you should ask dive operators before booking trips with them, and a lot of them have to do with safety and eco practices. So if you're interested in a full video on that, please tell me in the comments below and I will cover everything. We should always do our research before giving our money to people for dive trips. Now, going on solo international trips is such a special experience because we're getting ourselves outside of our comfort zone, going somewhere and learning about the culture and getting involved in the community that's there. The simplest way to get connected to locals and like-minded travelers is to book a dive trip, a dive day, connect with your guide or your instructor during that time, and then go out with them after the dive day. Go have drinks or have dinner. Being around the dive guide and instructors is the best way to meet people because they have established the relationships within that community. And speaking as someone who has been that person, you know, the instructor living in these places, we really appreciate getting to know you and building relationships with people who then are all over the world. I mean, I have friends that started out as clients and we've visited each other around the world. It's something that can be really special. I've got this thing connected. I have a little bit of excess, so we're gonna take care of that and burn the ends. Finally, another really lovely way to get involved with the local community is to sign up for like volunteer days. So whether that's a reef or beach cleanup, those are awesome. Or in a lot of places, they'll have environmental talks where local organizations will put on educational events. And that is an amazing way to not only educate yourself of what's happening in that area, but also meet people that give a damn about it. I'm burning. I probably shouldn't be doing this indoors. Indoors. I'm basically outside, but you know what I mean? Those are my tips for solo travelers and making dive buddies around the world. I joke that I'm antisocial and an introvert. That's not a joke. I am an introvert, but I'm really not antisocial. It's good for me. I just get nervous about it. This is a social sport. So get out there, meet people, dive with new people, but be safe while you do it. I want to know if I missed anything, if you guys have more resources for meeting dive buddies or tips on how to do that safely. Leave those in the comments below because, you know, we're all here to learn from each other. Aside from that, I appreciate you guys. Subscribe, like, comment, all the normal YouTubers speak, and join my Patreon community. If you're thinking about hopping on one of my dive expeditions, I have little discounts for my members and I'm always sharing fun things with them. So yeah, I did my project. Yay! It's very silly that it takes me so long to fix things, but it's fixed now, so that's great. And it's blue. How fun is that? It matches Azul Unlimited. There we go. All right. Okay, love you. Bye. Ow. God.
Atina jealous.
Oh.
Who's your bestie now?
Uh-oh, Atina.
Hi. All right, girl.
Oh. She's like, I can trust you. You're all right.
That's so sweet. All right.
All right, bye.